these missiles. This is what the Iranian government said.
What up, what up, what up? Give me a Lima Charlie if you can hear me loud and clear, man. Give me a Lima Charlie if you can hear me loud and clear. A few things going on today, man. A few things going on today. We got a little bit of breaking news. I just posted a video about just kind of what's going on with Iran and how I think that there was a fourth nuclear site that we didn't strike, and how I'm wondering like what's going on with that. And as I'm posting the video, I see that Iran has made a kinetic response to the actions that the U.S. did on Saturday when we launched B-2 bombers. Appreciate the Lima Charlie confirmations. When we launched B-2 bombers, we launched bunker busters towards their Fordo site and their other two nuclear sites. And what that means overall, it just seems like there's a lot of moving activity, but I am here to kind of like pull back the curtain a little bit, kind of calm you down a little bit, because I think this means something a little bit different than what's going on. Just a little bit different than what's going on at the moment, man, because a lot of folks seem to really think that this could have like a lot of implications when it comes to us escalating. We're still waiting for a response from the U.S. government. We hope to get that soon. First off, a couple of channel members here while we got more people coming in. Technically, T, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being a goddamn member. We appreciate that, man. Everybody else kicking the door in. Redskin Faithful, thank you for kicking the door in. Joshua, what is the deal? Blue Hawk is here. Me with Knobs, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being a goddamn member. What up, man? Anthony is here as well. Hopefully you're having a good one. Edward is in the building. It's a lot going on, man. It's just a real, I don't know. I feel like it's a fast moving thing, because as I go through this whole effort and I was posting the video, and as I was uploading it to YouTube, I was like, should I do an editorial edit and say and say that they've launched missiles, or should I just let it ride? So we just kind of let it ride and all that good stuff. Vegas Dad, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being a goddamn member. We appreciate that, man. So it's really interesting, because I'm going to give you a summary of what's happened so far, what is going on. I'm following a lot of credible reporters, a lot of folks who are believing what this could really mean. So what you see on the screen now, these are a replay of the attack. So Iran launched Iranian ballistic missiles and short-range missiles towards the U.S. base in Qatar. This is a site from Doha. So the folks that live in Doha obviously are not on the military base. They have their cameras trained towards the military base, and these are the interceptions that you saw. This is what Doha looks like right now. So below me, that's what Doha is looking like right now. I'm gonna play on a loop what the attacks looked like earlier. So a few things going on. So this is from Reuters. Iran says it fires missiles at the U.S. base in Qatar, and it's the Al Udeid U.S. military base in Qatar. Folks were told to get into bunkers. Folks were told to shelter in place. And we kind of saw this coming because hours ago, it was probably 6 or 7 hours ago, Qatar actually put out a message on the U.S. State Department website, and they told every civilian that's there, whether you work on the base, you're a contractor, you live there, you wifed up there, you just moved there because you like it, that you need to shelter in place. Don't go to work. Don't be out at the markets. Don't be kicking it with your homies. They told that hours ago. And then we get this launch. It says Qatar. Listen, some people say Qatar. Some people say Qatar. I'm going to say Qatar. All right. So and this is just from me being in Bahrain. A lot of folks there, they call it Qatar. So that's what I'm going to go with. Now, the thing is like at the end of the day, we knew that Iran had to do some type of strike back towards the U.S. other than just a cyber attack. They had to do something because, in my opinion, the supreme leader, the regime, they're back on their heels, and they control the internet right now. They control anything that's getting told to their people, and they are already selling this to their people that they totally destroyed the base in Qatar. That they totally destroyed the base. When there's no reports of anything landing, there's no reports of any injuries, but they're selling this a certain way to their people, and they're just going to continue to roll that way. And I get it, man. Sometimes that's just what people want to do. All right. So we got that report coming here. So this is the only thing that's came out from President Trump so far. We haven't got a direct response from the government other than them acknowledging that that attacks were launched our way. This is from the president about 20 minutes ago. The sites. Now, he's just talking about the attacks that we did the other day. And he says the sites that we hit in Iran were totally destroyed. Everyone knows that only the fake news would say anything different in order to try and demean as much as possible, even say that they are pretty well destroyed, working especially hard on this falsehood is Allison Cooper of Fake News CNN, Dumb Brian L. Roberts, chairman of the Concast, John Carl of ABC Fake News, and as always, the losers. Again, Concast, NBC Fake News. It never ends with these Z's-blags in the media. That's why their ratings are at an all-time low. Okay, so I wanted to present that to you because that's what I'm seeing right now. Now, I'm trying to just see if there's any further developments on this. Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Jordan have all condemned the actions of Iran, but I think that Saudi Arabia is low-key happy that this might be the only response that we get right now. And I'm going to just tell you, my guess is this may be the only response from Iran when it comes to kinetic activity. This is just my opinion. I'm going to tell y'all why I think that here in a second. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, so the Emiratis, the Saudis, and the Jordanians condemn Iran's attack on the military base in Qatar. I'm going to say Qatar for some of y'all. According to the statements from the country's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, all three countries affirmed their solidarity with Qatar, with Saudi Arabia saying it will deploy all capabilities to support the country. The Emiratis and the Jordanians stressed the importance of ending all military operations. So that's what we're getting from the neighboring states all around the Persian Gulf. Well, the Jordan doesn't touch the Persian Gulf, but all those neighboring states. Okay, so that's what they're saying. And so here is an official statement from the advisor to the Ministry of Qatar. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it is crazy long, but they basically condemn it, and they're basically reassuring that Qatar air defense successfully thwarted the attacks and intercepted the Iranian missiles. I'm reading from the middle of the paragraph. A detailed statement regarding the circumstances of the attack will be issued later by the Ministry of Defense. So he's just getting out there. He's the advisor. They're saying that they confirm they have the right to defend themselves, and including Qatar armed forces, et cetera, et cetera. So they're putting out a statement letting it be known they're allowed to defend themselves if they need to, and all that good stuff as well. Now it's a moving target, because some reports are saying that they launched attacks in Qatar and they launched attacks in Iraq. Now I know that sirens went off in Iraq, but I don't know if they actually launched an attack in over there. I think that's something that is still to be seen. So I'm gonna go with the reports we have at the moment, which is we know for sure that they had an attack in Qatar. So Netanyahu is already beginning to attack Iran on the behalf of the United States. So there's rocket debris in Qatar as well. So here's another thing that kind of leads me to believe this is more symbolic. This is more symbolic than it is an attack to try to put pain on the United States. It kind of leads me to believe it's more symbolic than that. Shashank Joshi, he's a reporter, I believe, let me make sure I get his credentials correct. He is a reporter with, hold on, because I follow him, with the Economist. He's a reporter with the Economist. So he thinks that this is about as symbolic as it can get. He says he would be surprised if Trump responded to this in any serious way. I'm starting to kind of agree with him, versus us just completely waking up a sleeping giant and getting into a kinetic activity with Iran beyond what has already happened. So he's quote tweeting here, says Iran coordinated the attacks on American Air Base they let Qatar know before they were going to do it. They gave them advance notification. CNN's reporting that Iran also told the United States. I don't know about that. I know that if you told Qatari officials that you intended to attack them, Iran knew that they were going to pick up the phone and call the United States. So the U.S. knew about the attack in advance. Qatar knew about the attack in advance. And this is according to 3 Iranian officials that they told them in advance. The official said that Iran symbolically needed to strike back at the U.S. the same way it carried out, and they were trying to give President Trump an exit ramp. This reminds me of the same strategy that they did in 2020 after the assassination of their high-ranking general, which also leads me to believe that this is about as far as it's going to go. So that's one thing that we have here. So this is from the Ministry of Interior for Bahrain. So Bahrain, of course, is also a neighboring state on the Persian Gulf. They told folks to seek shelter in the nearest building, take cover in a safe place in an area until the danger has passed. Now, I don't think that the launches were directly towards Bahrain, but I don't know if they had to travel over the airspace as I translate this. This is from their Ministry of Interior from Bahrain. The air raid siren sounded around 1937 today after detecting strange objects in the airspace of the Kingdom of Bahrain. It was found that they were heading outside the airspace. Later, the air sirens were sounded. We call all citizens and residents to follow instructions issued by authorities. Now, of course, the entire 5th Fleet of the Navy is stationed in Bahrain. They went after Qatar instead of Bahrain. For what logic, I don't know. But it still alerted the Bahrain folks as well to take cover and be cautious of that. Here's why I also believe that other people believe that this is it. I believe that this is about as big as it gets for the attack that Iran's going to do when it comes to the states. I don't think they're going to do more than that. So this is Doha right now on the bottom left of the screen. Looks pretty calm. Not a lot going on. So oil prices have already gone down 6% since the attack. Oil prices have already gone down 6% since the attack, which leads me to believe that the oil market also believes that this is about it when it comes to Iran's response to the bombing that we did on Saturday. Why would oil prices go down when missiles get launched in the air? I think because this is similar to their response. This is similar to their response that they did when President Trump 1.0 assassinated their general. And I think that's what the oil market is forecasting when they come out and oil prices actually go down. Interesting. You may have a different take about it, but that's kind of where I'm leaning towards it. You know, so here is from Barack Ravid. Barack Ravid is a phenomenal reporter. He is a correspondent with Axios. He is in Israel. He has some of the best news. He has a direct phone line with Donald Trump. So when he has a reporting, I normally oftentimes will follow what he has. So he put this initially in Hebrew. It's translated to: a source familiar with the details tells me Iran coordinated its attack with Qatar and the U.S. was aware of it in advance. So they did the coordination, which it's not an unusual thing for nations that are about to do a strike on the other one to give a warning so the civilians can shelter in place, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And I said this in a video I posted today. When you are in war or intervention, the enemy gets a vote as well. And this obviously seems to be their vote to do this attack, but it doesn't necessarily seem to be the biggest, the baddest attack that they could have done. Now, Iran is reporting that they only launched 14 missiles, whether they were short range or ballistic. They said they only launched 14 missiles because that's how many were launched at them. Now, I'm no mathematician, okay? But the reports that I got is that the United States launched 14 bunker busters and 30 Tomahawks. Now, for Marines would lead me to believe that they're missing a few missiles. So maybe this isn't the only attack, but that's what they're reporting. They're reporting they only launched the number of missiles rather, that were launched at them on Saturday. Is this it? Is this going to be in? I'm leaning towards they're trying to take an off ramp. They're hoping that President Trump does a response, especially when they're telling their people that have no internet right now because they cut it off from them, that they completely destroyed the base in Qatar. So if you're telling your people that they completely destroyed the base, mind you, it's going to eventually get to their people that that's not true, because a lot of Indians, like Indians, not Indians, Native American Indians, they attend college in Iran. Iran has a very good collegiate system. They got a lot of people that have advanced degrees in Iran. A lot of people that live in India attend college in Iran. They eventually are going to go home. They eventually have access to the internet. A lot of that stuff, whether they're coming or going, now airspace is still closed in Iran, but eventually the word will come that they didn't totally destroy the base. Okay, that's going to get to those folks. So this is from I-24 News. I-24 News reports in Israel. They're a global news. They've been reporting since 1993. Reports indicate that Iraq did not record any Iranian missile attacks, and this was something that was initially reported that Iraq got attacks as well. And so far, I'm not seeing anything that shows that to be true. They did sound off their air raid sirens, but there's nothing that's showing that they actually were attacked. So they're saying, I-24 News is saying that they spoke by phone to the source near the U.S. base in Iraq, and they're not reporting anything as it stands right now. I-24 News, they usually have really good coverage about this. So they initially reported this, and that they had to make their correction on their Twitter. And I don't know why everything first happens on Twitter, but that's just, it seems to be what they do. So initially they reported Iran launches missiles towards the bases in Qatar in Iraq. They updated that via their Twitter. Now, guys, this is why I kind of believe that this could be it when it comes to the Iranian response to the bunker busters that we launched on Saturday. I think that this could be like the summary of what's going on right now. Because if we take a look at what they did in 2020, all right, in 2020 or 2019, 2020, yeah, it was 2020. So in late 2019 or early 2020, Iran retaliates for General Soleimani's killing by firing missiles at the U.S. forces in Iraq. Mind you, when we assassinated General Soleimani, he was in Iraq. He was not in Iran. He was their high general, but he was in Iraq. We took him out. They responded by launching missiles at our forces in Iraq, but they told Iraq beforehand, and we intercepted all the missiles, and they did nothing else. So this is a little bit different than assassinating a high-ranking general. This is us taking out 3 of their facilities. But as I said in my video today, the 3 facilities we took out may have had no enriched uranium in them. There was a 4th site that we did not take out, or at least they didn't tell the American people if we took it out. And I always wondered, why didn't the Iranians scramble any jets? They're not doing an attack that's bigger than this. And the reason I think that's the case is because I believe they moved that enriched uranium to the 4th site or somewhere else in their country, and that the U.S. may have bombed an empty warehouse in essence. So if you are not trying to defend your currently located enriched uranium, you don't scramble any jets. You don't do anything like that. And I think that the reason they had to do this strike today is a face-saving thing for the people that are in Iran. Because you cannot have the people in Iran thinking, you can't even protect us. We're going to rise up and we want our asses up out of here. That's why I'm telling you this. I caution you guys as you watch other channels, you watch other news reports, you see people put on their titles, World War III, blah, blah, blah. I want you to really think about what this could mean. I don't know if this is going to go beyond what we have as it stands right now. So the jump into conclusions is something that I think that is something that people need to slow down on. Now, Tyler Rogaway, he runs he's the editor-in-chief of TWZ.com. It is a veterans oriented website. He also is really good at signals intelligence. He's just really good at understanding what stuff means when it comes to kinetic activity around the world. This is his opinion about this attack. He says, if this barrage of the base in Qatar, he thinks that this is going to be it. We don't know if that's the case, but he believes that this is going to be it. This was checking a box for the regime. It also signals just how weakened the Iran is at this point. We have to wait and see, but this was gives heavy shades of the 2020 reprisal of the ballistic missile strike in Iraq, although even less potent. Even less potent is what they did today. So the move signals that they signal to Trump that they do not want you to respond. They're trying to give him an off ramp. A huge part of this is likely to the state of Iran signal to signal, which is in tatters. So there's signal to signal, their intelligence is in tatters. Even if they have the hardware, coordinating in a major way is likely very tough, if not impossible at this point. Also, the delay in the response and the reprisal strikes is a reality. And not only are their intel capabilities, their surface to air strikes are already in tatters, Israel has already started attacking them on our behalf. They've already started attacking them on our behalf. So that may be another off-ramp for President Trump to not do anything in response to this. Here is footage that Israel dropped today, that they released today, of them taking out the Revolutionary Guard's headquarters, which I'm assuming is completely abandoned. I don't think they have people sleeping in the barracks, sleeping in the headquarters, going to work every day. But the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, are already on the counterattack on our behalf. So this is what the aftermath of them taking out their headquarters. They've already started attacking our behalf. I just don't know if we're going to actually respond to this. John Hudson, he's a diplomatic and national security reporter for the Washington Post. Take that as you may. He says that Iran's Supreme National Security says that Iran destroyed the American base in Qatar. But Qatar says it successfully fended off the Iranian missile barrage, which did not result in any deaths or injuries. Big clue that the Iranian strike is aimed at domestic consumption. This is why I also believe that this was not to actually hurt anyone. Now, if a missile got through, then so be it. But I think they fired at a country that had capable air defenses. They gave them a warning. It's similar to what they did in 2020. And I don't see it going beyond this. So I don't know. What do you guys are thinking about this? Like, do you think that this is just an off ramp for the United States? Do you think that we're going to respond beyond this? I don't know. Barack Ravid, once again, he says that a senior U.S. Defense Department official, this is them just confirming that the attack happened, but this is not an official response from the United States. Now, I'm going to go check President Trump's True Social feed because he normally will respond there pretty quickly. He hasn't responded yet, but I've been going here for a few minutes, so maybe he has responded since I've been talking for the last 20 minutes. So maybe the response has happened since then. But the Defense Department did say, I can confirm that the air base in Qatar was attacked today by short and medium range ballistic missiles originating from Iran. At this time, there's no reports of American casualties. We are closely monitoring the situation. We'll provide additional information as it comes available. Okay, here's another indicator that I think this might be it, guys. So this is another indicator that I think that this might be it. So initially at 16:55 UTC, they closed the airspace in Qatar and UAE. So planes were diverted. If you look here, they were diverted. UAE, we're still having some flights coming in. Qatar completely closed their airspace. Bahrain, all that good stuff. This is what Flight Radar 24. They've already reopened the airspace. Everything's good to go. So, but the only issue, it has delayed a lot of flights for Qatar, for Qatar, and they have reopened the airspace and they are allowing planes to come back and land, but it has thrown off so many scheduled flights that people are scrambling trying to find flights and all that good stuff as well. But I don't know at the time if there's anything that leads me to believe that there's anything beyond that. What happened right now is if that's going to happen, if anything else is going to occur. I usually keep Al Jazeera up because they have reporters that are there. I'm not seeing anything that's like in a major breaking way as a signal that something is going to be going down. It's something that's going to be going down. Staff Sergeant David says, all I can say is never underestimate our military. We have the best military in the world. Oh, 100%. 100% concur with that. I 100% concur with that. Let me check True Social and see if the president has responded on his True Social. And so, no, he still hasn't put anything on there. Nothing from the president yet on True Social. Which leads me to believe, so this is Reuters. Let me go to AZ Intel. He still hasn't responded on True Social, normally, which would be one of the first responses. He normally would get out there before we put any additional intelligence out there. So CNN is reporting that the President Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, has remained in contact with the Iranian officials since the U.S. strikes on Iran. So this is just what them talk about diplomacy. Qatar Airways has suspended their flights. So I'm not seeing anything new here. Let me paste his True Social. So this is the last thing that we get from President Trump on his True Social. He posted about, as I mentioned earlier, he posted about the strikes on Saturday. You know, what I'm getting a lot from the president when it comes to these strikes is here's my take on the strikes that we did on Saturday, okay? My take is we were effective on target, but we don't know how much damage there is. We won't know how much damage there is from satellite images, and it's going to take a spy. Israel does have spies in Iran, or it's going to take operators, which we wouldn't send operators in just to assess damage. I believe we have operators in the area, or it's going to take for somebody to get on the ground with like a drone or something, because you can no longer, you can't really drop a 20-foot ladder into the hole where we drop missiles and go down there and check out the damage, right? If we get on site, we have to inspect it via drone, or we have to excavate some of the entrances and try to actually climb down with climbing material. Like, it has to be explored. So right now the president is selling hard the amount of damage we did for those sites, which it is what it is. But he hasn't actually responded yet to the attacks that we just occurred, and I have his page kind of like on repeat just to see if I get anything else from him. I thought this was an interesting kind of laxed response from Iran. I don't know if we're going to see anything beyond what we saw so far. Iran says it launched those towards Qatar and Iraq, but no one in Iraq is reporting that they had to do anything. Israel has hit a prison in Tehran. They've hit the headquarters for the Revolutionary Guard in Iran. So Israel's already bringing the fight on our behalf over there. So we've already, U.S. citizens have been sheltering in place since early this morning. Qatar, the Emiratis, Bahrain shut down their airspaces. They have since opened up, at least the Emiratis and Bahrain opened up their airspaces again. I think Qatar's partially reopened theirs again as well. Now, other folks, world leaders are starting to come out with some of their opinions about what's going on, but I still take that with a grain of salt. So Macron says spiral of chaos must end. French President Macron called for a return to diplomacy to end what is called a spiral of chaos on X or Twitter. And his post is basically saying that he believes that it's a dangerous escalation. He urged restraint. It's in French, obviously, but it was translated by Reuters. I really believe that this might be it when it comes from Iran. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It says that I believe the satellite, Slim says, I believe satellite images have been released, not able to determine much from those images, obviously, though. I agree with you. Like, they did release images, and it's not just America. It's not just our government that has images. There are commercial satellite companies who also have satellites in space in lower Earth orbit who are taking photos of the site, and they're all releasing similar images. They're all releasing similar images. So I'm not seeing anything that like outright says this is the amount of damage. I'm not really seeing how we can get that from just what we've seen so far. So it's really tough. No other U.S. bases in the Middle East have been attacked besides the air base in Qatar, according to a U.S. official that told ABC News. This is coming from AZ Intel, which I follow on Twitter as well. So it's a lot of different, like, I do follow the mainstream media for this stuff, but when I'm putting together stuff that I need to do for my family, I kind of see myself as a prepared citizen. And if I'm trying to figure out what do I need to do to prepare my family for stuff, I usually follow people who are in the regions, whether they're in the Indo-Pacific region, they're in the Middle East, they are in the Guam area, wherever. I like to follow reporters and people that are on the ground versus waiting around for like CNN or Fox News or whatever, because they are slow AF for that type of stuff. They're usually really slow for that type of stuff. So right now, I-24 News is saying that it was 10 missiles. So is the New York Times is saying it was 10 missiles. Iran themselves is saying that it was 14 missiles. I guess that Qatar is saying it was only 10, and they're reporting that because that's how many interceptions that they had to make. How accurate that is, I'm not quite sure. Now, Iran has also says it will continue its retaliation in response to the U.S. attacks on its nuclear sites, a senior Iranian official has said. Now, this is a reporter with I-24 News. Now, I believe, and I'm just going to go out there on a limb. I'm going out there on a limb, guys. Iran's posture is on everything, right? They posture on everything. This is a reporter with I-24 News. He's saying that a senior Iranian official, and he is reporting that they're going to continue their attacks. This first attack was kind of weak, just in my opinion. And I think that this is going to be it. I believe that there is a fourth site, the Pickaxe site. And I believe that the Pickaxe site is they may quickly go towards enriching uranium and come up with a bomb, whether it's a dirty bomb because they haven't figured out the triggering system to make a traditional bomb. But I don't think that their main response is just to lob ballistic missiles at U.S. bases. I think that we may not hear a lot from Iran for the next 6 months, other than their action with Israel. I think that this is what they're going to do next. This is just my opinion. I just reported this today on my video. The Jewish Insider, also other Jewish websites are starting to now pick up on this reporting. They have been building up this fourth nuclear site since 2019. We were not told by the government if we hit this fourth site. I don't know why. And I said I believe that we did not hit this fourth site for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's deep as fuck. Like, there's a possibility that the Pickaxe Mountain site, it's their lesser known underground nuclear facility, is deeper than Fordo. And estimates are saying that it can be up to 600 feet deep. It has more flooring, more actual area for scientists to work in down there. And the reason we're able to estimate that it could be up to 600 feet deep is because when you dig into a mountain, you have to remove dirt and rocks, right? And so as we were doing surveillance with satellites, we analyzed how much dirt and rocks were taken out of the mountain and taken away in trucks. And some brainiac mathematicians determined that it could be up to 600 feet. That's a 50-story skyscraper flipped upside down and put into the ground. That's how big this facility could be. So I don't know why we didn't strike this. I'm unsure why we didn't strike this. I don't want online access. You're gonna paywall me? Yeah, you're gonna paywall me. All right. So I don't know why we did not strike this. The Pickaxe Mountain, I believe, is something that we need to think about. So here's the thing. Among the Iranian nuclear facilities, U.S. reportedly targeted Sunday morning attacks, they say it was the Pickaxe Mountain. Iran has not acknowledged that this site was attacked. They acknowledged the other three, but I have not heard anything about this site. The facility itself is near Natanz nuclear site. They say it could be 330 to 600 feet below Earth, but we're not sure how deep this is. If they picked up their materials, the enriched uranium, and they moved it to this additional site, I believe this could be where they go to next. Now, it's near Natanz. There's nothing to say that we didn't actually launch towards those as well. And this is also coming in from the Foundation of Defense for Democracies. They're saying that U.S. dealt Iran's nukes a major blow, but here's why cheers may be premature. This is another article that's talking about that Pickaxe site. You guys can go research this also on your own, because I think that, listen, I'm just going to be real with you. There's no way that the Pickaxe site is near Natanz and we don't also lob some Tomahawks that way. There's just no way. But if all we did was launch Tomahawks, I don't know if we penetrated 330 to 600 feet. Tomahawks being launched from a submarine or a destroyer don't have that type of penetration range. That's why I think that this attack that we saw today might just be enough for them to have a face saving with inside their country, but that might be it. That might be it. Speaker Johnson's already came out with a statement as well. Not an appropriate time for Congress to consider war powers resolution, says Speaker Johnson. Here's the thing. This is just also my opinion, because now that technically Iran has made an attack, even though it was a counterattack, because they made an attack against U.S. forces, although they were unsuccessful, I believe this is all the president needs if he wants to counterattack, because he can use his war powers in defense of the United States. And now that they've came through, and now that they made this attack, he can counterattack, and I still don't think he needs to consult with the Congress. Let's see. Tommy says that's exactly what we know. I try to watch reports from people that are boots on the ground reporting and regional reporters to get a better understanding of what's going on as well for the U.S. Yeah, I agree with that. If you can get the opportunity to follow folks that are on the ground, follow folks that are in those areas, I think it makes a lot more sense. It makes a lot more sense. Let me follow my guy real quick and see if, hold on, first off, let me refresh Truth Social. Now, it is reported that the president was meeting in the Situation Room. He might have been in the Situation Room while these attacks were occurring. Like, there's a possibility that was going down. So I'm thinking that, let me see here. I'm just trying to see if there's any updates that are like substantial. Let's take a look. I like to follow Agenda Free TV. I recommend y'all take a look at him as well. He is really good.
I have a video. Here we go. Let's watch the video. This was earlier in Qatar. This is not live. This is earlier in Qatar.
Okay, so I already have that video playing on a loop on my screen. So I'm not going to replay that. But yeah, Agenda Free TV is also a really good source if you're trying to figure out, you know, get some information from folks without feeling like you have some type of agenda on your back as well. Okay, see, Thunder says, do you think we're in World War III? No, I don't. No, I do not. That's just my opinion. Some people, you're going to see some YouTube titles. You're going to see some YouTube thumbnails, and you're going to hear people on live streams and creating content that are going to say something different. But in my opinion, as it stands right now, is no, I don't think so. No, I do not think so. I'm looking at reporters on the ground as well. There's reporters that are with the president, but they're not in the Situation Room. They're part of the press pool. And I'm trying to figure out if this is going to be it. So Phil Stewart with Reuters. He's a national security reporter with Reuters. Oman, which is right across the Gulf from Iran, is temporarily suspending flights to Dubai, Kuwait, because of these regional developments, which does make sense. There's no reporting of casualties. There's no reporting of even like Qatarian, like civilian casualties, nothing. That's why I believe that this is going to be kind of where it stops. Let me look at Caitlin Collins with CNN, which she doesn't really have like the most update today info because she's here in the States. No, she doesn't. So let's see. We're in it, but it's not hot war yet. It's a West versus East and mainly economic warfare thing. But yeah, here's the thing. The thing that kind of like makes me really draw pause. Let me see how much it costs for a barrel of oil right now in live. A Western. So let me see if I can pull up Western barrel of oil. You know what people really care about? So WTI, Western Texas Intermediate, is normally where I go to figure out how much a current barrel of oil is. If I wanted to just go on down to Western and buy me a barrel of oil, how much would it be? That's where I like to go. And right now, a barrel of oil with them, the price keeps going down. The price now is at $68.78. This is real time. This is what I'm talking about. So I know what you're saying, like it feels like we are and this, that, and the third, but oil prices went down from $75 a barrel just on Saturday to $68 today. The reason that this is significant is because it seems to be that people in the oil industry are forecasting that this is it. They're forecasting that this is going to be the response by Iran, and this is similar, like I said, to what they did with General Soleimani was taken out in early 2020. If they're forecasting that this is going to be similar to that, that's why they're easing the oil prices. They believe they're going to be able to easier get their oil from the Gulf, which 20 million barrels of oil go through the Gulf a day, nearly 20% of the world's oil supply. If they're forecasting prices going down, I don't see how we think we're currently in World War III. Because if they thought that, shit would be skyrocketing. Like it would just be going through the roof. This is why I think that this is kind of like the totality of their response. And on top of all that, the Iranian leaders are telling their people they totally destroyed the base, which is not true. They're betting on there's enough time before the real information gets to their people that this will all die down and they can just continue to go towards building a bomb, in my opinion. in my opinion. Let me see this real quick. All right. Trying to see if there's any further reports. Hold on. No. You know what's the thing that's surprising to me is that there's still not a response from the president, which leads me to believe a couple of things. Reflexively, because President Trump, whether you like him or you don't, does like to show strength. And if our people are attacked, reflexively, I would believe that he would want to say something about it, launch this. Now, his silence might be deafening. His silence could be deafening. The fact that we haven't heard anything from the president also could be an indicator that the U.S. is already intending to do something, but I'm not going to put a big bet on it. I'm not going to put a big bet on it. But the reason that I think that it's not going to be that big of a response is that them letting Qatar know in advance allowed for us to evacuate the base if we needed to. We had already flown most of our aircraft to Spain or to Sweden, because we do have the air base that's in Rota, Spain. We have assets in Sweden where we can take our aircrafts that are out of the range of ballistic missiles. We have stuff off the coast of Greece near Crete. There's all sorts of places we can take our aircraft. So we had members there, military members there, but because they gave that advance warning, that gave enough room for possibility telling folks to seek shelter and also further evacuations. So I know it can feel like a lot. But advanced coordination between the two countries, which sounds weird in war, right? But advanced coordination between the two countries is an indicator that I don't think this is going to escalate any further. I just don't see this escalating any further. Let me look at my other sources here on Twitter real quick while I have y'all up on this screen. On the bottom left on the screen is a recording of the interceptions that took place over Qatar, as I mentioned earlier. Checking out N12 News. Okay, so Mighty Thought says, how would America respond if Iran starts testing nukes? That's a good question. So this is just my opinion. If Iran begins to test nukes, let me just show you what we did. All right, so in May of 1998, we did not have intel at all that Pakistan was going to carry out nuclear tests. We had no clue they were going to do that. When they did it, we didn't initially respond. We didn't have the type of relationship as close as we do now with actually both countries, to be honest. But nuclear proliferation is something that we don't want happening around the world. But once someone has a nuclear weapon, I don't think reflexively as a country we can just strike, because if they have it, they have enough ability to create a dirty bomb. And if they have enough ability to create a dirty bomb, that means that they have enough ability to influence their neighbors. So a dirty bomb might be able to be put on a ballistic missile or short range missile and lobbed into one of the Gulf states, lobbed into Pakistan, lobbed into India, lobbed into, I don't think that they would have the capability to make it to Israel if they got to 90% enrichment. But this is what, in 1998, both India and Pakistan started doing nuclear tests, and it completely surprised America. And then Bill Clinton, he absolutely recognized that both countries sought out to have that type of arms, but he thought that they were going to abide by their self-imposed moratorium on nuclear testing. New Delhi and Pakistani government, they didn't care. They did it. So I believe if they started testing, I don't think we would do anything beyond just seeing how far they're willing to take it. Look what North Korea did. Before we went into Iraq in 2000, we went into Afghanistan in 2001. Before we went into Iraq in 2003, we voted for war through Congress, right? North Korea, they ran towards making a nuclear weapon. They sprinted towards it because they saw what it could mean to have a nuclear weapon to keep America off your shores. And they did nuclear testing in the early 2000s before we went into Iraq. And did you notice we were screaming out loud that that Iraq had WMDs, weapons of mass destruction, but we were crickets when it came to North Korea, and they 100% had weapons of mass destruction. So I think if Iran got to that point of having it, I do not think we would put ourselves in a position where they could launch a dirty bomb towards any of our neighbors. But that's just my opinion. G-Ball says, you don't build warehouses and miles of long tunnels 300 feet underground because you're baking cookies. They have a lot of fire potty nobody knows about. G-Ball Vision, I think that you're more close to being right than wrong. I really believe that the way that things are positioned right now, I think we may have laid down some tomahawks to that site at Pickaxe Mountain. And if you guys get a chance today, just look up Pickaxe Mountain. Why have you not heard officials talking about it? You haven't heard the Defense Department. You haven't heard the president. You haven't heard the Secretary of State. You haven't heard anyone talking about Pickaxe Mountain. And I'm wondering, did we also attack that? Because it is literally within a mile of the Natan site. But it is deeper than Fordo. It's crazy deep. So I'm wondering, like, is that something that is viable for them? Because they did move. Let me pull that up. Iran moved nuclear site. They did move days before. Satellite images believe them to having moved. Hold on, let me pull this up real quick. Satellite images have them believed to having moved that site. Now, I'm not sure the viability of it. New York Post has this, but they have tons of vehicles 36 to 48 hours before we did our strike. Tons of vehicles. Look at all these trucks waiting to go inside the Fordo facility. So it is believed that they moved their rich uranium and other key viable stuff. Move that stuff out of there. And so I don't know if they moved it to the Pickaxe location, but I know absolutely that they moved some shit up out of there. You don't have all those trucks out of there because you're trying to get some people up out of there. You're trying to get some stuff out of there. So I think that there's a possibility of that, G-Ball. I can see that as well. There's also images of the trucks after they left the site. So this is what it looks like after they left the site. I don't know why we didn't lay, I guess we didn't have the intelligence to lay missiles on this. I don't know why we didn't, but this is after they left the site. Let me go through these photos and make sure there's no random porn. Hold on. Underground site. Okay, I guess I can go through these. So this is the trucks leaving the facility at Fordo. That is March 19th, Fordo. This is after we put missiles on it. The Army Commander-in-Chief of the Iranian in their command room. That is their supreme leader. So I just think that, you know, I don't think that they just left their shit laying around. I really don't think that's the case. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. They don't have any relations. Have I tried it? What did I miss? And you know, we're just trying to figure out if the reason I'm really kind of trying to stick around, I really want to see if we get a response from President Trump. I really want to see if we get a response from President Trump. Let me go to New York Times. Yeah, I don't see anything new from there. No U.S. casualties are reported in the Qatar interceptions. There are nothing reported in the Qatar interceptions. I'm checking some of my sites here. Um, okay, this is just about they're trying to negotiate with shipping companies that are in the Gulf to convince them to continue going through the strait. So that's what I'm reading off screen. The interesting. Hold on. Yeah, so we already got the response from the Arab League, which is all those countries I mentioned earlier: UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, etc. You think that Boring King says that Trump already took the bait. He's being set up by the British and Israel. I mean, a lot of folks are kind of leaning towards that we are being utilized by Israel. A lot of folks are really kind of leaning towards that way. Okay. Let me go back here. And once again, let me reset. So Iran launches at least 10, they say 14, but at least 10 ballistic short range missiles or long range ballistic missiles towards their air base in Qatar. Before the launch happened, the U.S. State Department through Qatar had actually warned U.S. citizens to shelter in place. The British also had that same type of warning. Let me pull that up from this morning, which I don't know how far in advance Iran warned Qatar that they were going to actually do this. Because if they let Qatar know like far in advance, and then if they let Qatar know far in advance, and then on top of all that, Qatar told the United States, there's a high likelihood they knew that this was going to happen. So this morning, when I woke up this morning, I saw a notice from the U.S. State Department that saying that Qatar closes its airspace and the UK and the U.S. tell their citizens to shelter in place. This is hours before the attack. Hours later, we get a notification that Iran launched missiles. First report said to Iraq, Bahrain, and Qatar, but first reports can always be, not completely accurate. And they ended up bringing that down from all three of those countries to just Qatar. And so a lot of people took this as an escalation from Iran. I'm reading it completely different. And the reason I read it completely different is oil prices are down 5%. And oil prices being down 5% today is an indication to me that the oil markets believe that this is all that Iran is going to do. And a lot of times the market is able to predict stuff before we Americans who are, we see stuff in headlines, but they base stuff off what happened in the past. And in the past, when President Trump 1.0 attacked and assassinated General Soleimani in Iraq, Iran simply launched missiles at Iraq, and that was their whole response. So I think that as we see oil prices come down, I think it has to do similarly to their response they did 5 years ago. I don't see anything beyond that as being the case, but I could be wrong. So right now, airspace was closed for a lot of these regions. I know that Flight Radar 24 was tracking that some of the countries were beginning to reopen their airspaces. Qatar Airlines completely shut down operations for now. Oman has temporarily suspended their flights going to certain countries, but they're still flying out. But I think that the pre-warning and them telling in advance what they intended to do is an indicator of what they intend to allowing this to be their only attack. We did get a response from the Qatar, the advisor for the Ministry of Defense. He did a long-winded response, but the summation of the response so far is we reassure that Qatar's air defense has successfully thwarted the attack and intercepted all the Iranian missiles. They also says that they reserve the right to defend themselves and blah, 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 blah. Okay, everybody always says that. but it's my belief that this is going to be it when it comes to this attack. So the biggest thing we're going to see from this, I think, that is a disruption in air travel in that region for a couple of days. But I don't think we're going to see beyond that. I'm very curious to see what the official response is going to be from the Defense Department and from President Trump. We still have not heard anything from them yet in regards to that. I am following on another screen CNN, Fox News, and New York Times to see if any of them have an update. But apparently the Trump administration was anticipating the retaliation. And for now, they don't want to do any further military escalation. But that was a statement they made before this attack. That was a statement they made before this attack. So where we stand as it stands right now, I think that we will first hear it from someone that immediately talks to the president. So an update that I have here for you is Fox News. I know that he was meeting with his national security team, he being the president. So he meets with his national security team. And I said earlier, I think that he was meeting with his national security team as these attacks were happening. And now Fox News is reporting that. So my fear is that we were coming out and we said the Midnight Hammer message was mission accomplished. And I told you guys that because of that fourth site, I don't know if mission was really accomplished. And now I told you that I don't know if Iran purposely, because the meeting today with his national security team, it was on his schedule last night. You know, a lot of times the president puts out his public schedule for what he's going to be doing the next day. On his public schedule last night was the meeting he had today with his national security team. It sure is funny that Iran launched this attack while he was meeting with his national security team, which means that this is the Iran trying to say to the president, this is your off ramp. This is all we're doing. You're meeting with your national security team. No need for you to respond. Is that going to be it? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the entire formation of it. I don't want to watch Fox News live. I don't own the rights to that. But I don't know if that is going to be everything that we get out of them. Let me go over to my guy real quick, Steve, with No Agenda. Hold on real quick. No Agenda. Here he is.
Iran claimed it destroyed the base. There was a statement from the Iranian government. I saw that before. We read that before. But U.S. officials said no personnel were killed or injured no U.S. personnel were killed or injured on the attack on the air base, the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East. I actually kind of feel weird on calling it an attack. I mean, I guess it's an attack, but if they told them in advance.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. I think he's going with the same point I had. If they told him in advance, it is an attack because they launched missiles towards our base. And Steve just reported out there that he's reading from the Defense Department that it was the largest air base in the Middle East. That didn't dawn on me until now. Yeah, make sure you hit that like button. Appreciate that. Make sure you smack that like button. Use your favorite baby powder. Smack the shit out of it. But that's the biggest thing for me is that's the largest air base in the Middle East. Our largest naval station in the Middle East is the Fifth Fleet, which is in Bahrain. They are kissing cousins. Qatar, Bahrain, kissing cousins from one another, not very far from one another. And so you have to know if you're Iran. You have to know if you're Iran that our Patriot missiles, we may even have a THAAD system in the area. Our Patriot missiles is basically like an Iron Dome on a ship. So, you know, Israel has the Iron Dome, which are good at short range missiles, rockets, stuff like that. The THAAD system is good at high altitude interceptions. You have to know if you're Iran that if you fire towards the Fifth Fleet or towards the largest air base in the Middle East, that it's going to get intercepted. You have to know that. There is no like, I wonder if they're going to intercept this. No, that's not how that works. So I think that they chose that target for a particular reason. Coming in with the $4.99 super chat. Appreciate that, a resilient dad, man. Hopefully you're doing well. But you have to know that. It was keep it up pair. It looks weird in my streaming software. It's called a pair character lifting some weights. Appreciate that. But so if you didn't make an attack towards the air base in Kuwait, which is smaller, you didn't do it to any of our air bases in Iraq, which are smaller. You didn't go for any of the troops in Syria, which is less than 1,000. You went towards the largest air base in the region, which you have to know we have the Patriot missiles, or we have the way for us to intercept it. That's why I think that they're trying to offer an off-ramp to the president. Will he take it? That is the question. I don't think that he wants to escalate war in the Middle East, but I might be wrong, because we did get it from him just the other day that he says that he posts a lot. Where is it? Where's the post in regards to? Here it is right here. He says it's not politically correct to use the term regime change. But if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be regime change? Miga, please. But my thing is like, he doesn't want to escalate, in my opinion, but I don't know, maybe he does. If you start using this type of language, because on the Sunday shows, the Sunday morning shows, the vice president, the secretary of state, all of them are hitting the Sunday circuit. And they are like, we're at a war with Iran's nuclear program. We're not at war with Iran. And then that night, after you've gone home, you've taken off your suit, you wash behind your ears, you about to go ahead and go 20 toes with your wife, you thought you did a good job, you see the president put some stuff out like this, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Maybe. It says, didn't the bases in Iraq and Syria get evacuated after the strikes? There was reports of that, but the military.com, DOD, Stars and Stripes, I looked at all those, and I wasn't seeing like a full evacuation of those places. Which would also be, there was reports that we moved our equipment. It was reports that we moved our equipment, but I don't know about 100% evacuating the bases altogether. You said, so the war is over. I don't know. I know about 100% over, but I think that this is an off ramp. And this is the thing. It's over as in for kinetic activity, but I do believe that there is a higher likelihood that Iran is going to run towards making a nuclear weapon. They're going to sprint towards it like as fast as they can. I think it's a higher likelihood that they sprint towards making a nuclear weapon in the next 6 months than not doing it. So we're seeing posturing from Russia as well. The thing is that we're seeing the former president of Russia, Dmitry. We're seeing the current president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. They both condemned the attacks. And the former president of Russia is saying that this attack is going to make it more likely than not that Iran gets a nuclear weapon. But I don't know if he knows what the hell he's talking about. First, he's the former president of Russia. He's not the current president of Russia. So he's not going to be giving them the stuff that they need to actually make that happen. But I still believe that Iran may try to bet the bag to get everything that they can do to get a nuclear weapon, whether that is increasing their oil output for North Korea. Say, we're going to give you everything you want, increasing that output for Iran, increasing whatever resources or assets, natural minerals, all the way from oil to some other thing on a periodic table that's in their grounds in Iran to another country so that they can continue to enrich uranium to 90%. I think that's the way that they're going to go. So is the war over as in kinetic? Yeah, I think that's true. But is it over towards like them running towards producing a weapon? No, I don't think so whatsoever. So some people there's reports that says that the U.S. may absorb, and I'm just seeing this pop up now, the U.S. may absorb attacks from Iran just to get to a nuclear deal. Here's my opinion about that. I think that The best deal that we will get out of Iran at this point is the same deal we had in 2015. The deal in 2015 is that they put their nuclear program on ice for 10 years. They sent all their uranium, all of it, civilian grade and enriched uranium, to Russia. And they allowed for their facilities, except for that secret fourth one, which we didn't know about till 2019, but I digress. They allowed all their facilities to be inspected by international inspectors, plus a few other things in the deal. They did that deal so that they can get sanctions lifted off their country, economics, all that good stuff. And then, of course, we ripped up that deal. I think that's about as good as we're going to get for the deal. I don't know if we're going to get any better than that. So we got an analysis here saying that U.S. may absorb Iranian attacks to secure a nuclear deal, meaning they may allow Iran to lob these missiles and intercept them just so that we can continue to show diplomacy. I don't know about that. I think that we may absorb this attack, but if they keep doing it, I don't know how much President Trump is just going to sit on his knees. I don't know about that. That could be something that may be a little bit different. So from the Supreme, let's see. Okay, so from the Supreme Leader has a Twitter. His Twitter, he's an 80-year-old man, or he's in his 80s. Okay, I'm assuming this is ran by some 20-something-year-old. All right. But this is his Twitter, so we are going to read what he posted, okay? So he says, "We did not harm anyone. We will not accept any harassment from anyone under any circumstances. And we will not submit to anyone's harassment. This is the logic from Iranian nation." And then they have, I guess that's a military base and the American flag. Someone AI'd that up real quick, didn't they? Goddamn. So this is the response from the Supreme Leader on his Twitter. This is just them posturing. Once again, this is all the hell they do is posture. I think that they're trying to save face. I think that he's trying not to be overrun. I don't see anything going beyond that, but I could be wrong. So that's what we're getting from the Supreme Leader. We got France condemning the attacks. We got the Gulf War air travel being advised, but I don't think it goes beyond that. He says, "What about sleeper cells?" I'm still worried about sleeper cells, but a lot of thing about sleeper cells like to get paid. Two things that motivate sleeper cells: religious ideology and money. The economic stance of Iran right now is like on life support. Their main output is oil. If they mine the Persian Gulf, which they threatened to shut down the Persian Gulf, which I don't think they can just roll an oil tanker in the Persian Gulf and parallel park. That's not what they're going to do. If they close the Strait of Hormuz, they would do about mining the Gulf. At least that's what I think they would do. So to your question, you're saying, what about sleeper cells? I think that if you're a sleeper cell here in the States, you're motivated by religious ideology, or you're motivated by money. I don't think Iran's going to be running you your money right now. And maybe you are just that invested to Iran that you wake up and you do stuff for them here. But I have that lower on my totem, on the totem pole. I believe that DDoS attacks and cyber attacks are most likely for us. We just had a DDoS attack on Truth Social. It happened literally. We literally had a DDoS attack literally as the president was tweeting, or he was truthing on Truth Social. And as soon as he truthed on Truth Social that we successfully did that attack, Iran attacked his website and they took it down. They DDoS attacked it. A DDoS attack is a distributed denial of service attack. They can do that to your home internet. Someone could DDoS attack me right now, shut down my live stream. DDoS attack can be done by hackers. So that's one way to just slow down access to your website or to your internet. Maybe they can't get into your files, right? Because I have, just to peel back the onion, I don't have a server here in my house. Well, I do, but it's not connected to the internet. I have to physically walk up to my server, plug up my computer, and upload my files. But let's just say, for instance, I did have a server here in my house. It was connected to the internet. They could hack my server and hold all my files ransom if they were in the cloud somewhere, right? But another attack they can do is DDoS. But I am worried more about cyber attacks and DDoS versus IM sleeper cells as it stands right now. It's not an impossibility. Like, don't get it twisted. It's still something that can happen, but it's just not something that's like high on my totem pole. Taking a look at Fox News and CNN. Nope, still no updates here. Script Kitties, yeah. Let me take a look at his Truth Social, because I think that is where we were here at first. No, still nothing on this Truth Social. We did get the Mediaite report of a DDoS attack. Let me go back and see some of my favorite reporters, and I might just be getting back to making another video if I don't see any other big information. That's the biggest thing I wanted to convey with this, though, and I might make a video about this, is that don't take this attack the wrong way, because this attack, in my opinion, is Iran trying to get out of further escalation with the United States and them selling themselves to their own people that they're big and bad. That is what I think this attack is. So after you leave this live stream and you see other creators with their live streams or their videos, whether they are prepared citizens, preppers, just creators that like to talk about the news, if you see the World War III headlines, it's okay to click the video because it's just a title and a thumbnail. But if you get into that live stream or that content and they are telling you we are at World War III and this, that, and the third, just take it with a grain of salt. I'm not telling you to click away. You can still watch the creator. Just take it with a grain of salt. Take it with like, all right, I was listening to Marine X earlier. He was saying that, he thinks this. And that's just my opinion about the situation. I might be wrong. All right, I made predictions in the past and I was like completely off. I should do a debate with Myron Gaines. Myron Gaines is all right, I'll give my opinion. Myron Gaines with Fresh and Fit podcast. He's a former law enforcement officer turned podcaster turned male chauvinist who talks poorly about women. I think that he just I think he may be a vet as well. Here, Myron Gaines, I believe, chases after attention and things that will get him more content. I don't do this full time. I have a job that pays me more than this. This is like gas money for me, and to get oil changes on my truck. And so I don't need to chase the content. And if I got into a debate with him, it would just be a big yell fest on his part because it's hard to get me revved up. And I don't think it would be valuable for the audience. But I mean, he's more than welcome to reach out. But I just don't think that it's very valuable. It says Myron's a flea bitten fit. Yeah, brainstorming never wrong. Yeah, that's just what my take is on the whole situation. He says, I'm worried if you make a video right now, you won't be able to start with coffee. Some people have commented that I've been making videos from this. I have 3 filming locations in my studio. I say I don't do this full time, but my studio is a garage. Okay, guys. So I'm in my garage. This is a garage door that I'm touching right here. But I film here at my desk. This is also where I work my day job, which I'm about to get back to work. I film in my man cave, a table where I drink drinks and hang out. And then I film in my coffee area. I do need to film my coffee area more. I don't have a computer there, though. So it's hard for me to, research and talk about that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But first off, guys, if this is your first time stopping by, I would greatly appreciate if you hit that subscribe button, join my battalion. I try to give you information and how I think that can make you a better prepared citizen, and also for your everyday carry stuff. If this is not your first time stopping by, you already know who the hell I am. Well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.